and welcome to the latest edition of POSH America. I am your host, Pete Urich, and today we're going to possibly be a little bit more America than POSH, but we'll kind of meld it all together as I always do. The reason why we're going to be slightly more America today is because of the fact that over the past few days, the United States national team has been able to do a few different things. First of all, they beat Mexico in the Nations League final. Obviously, Mexico is our biggest rival on the national team level, and beating them is always a significant marker for where our program is at the moment. And some people are calling this the golden generation of American players, with players like Christian Pulisic and McKinney and Serginho Dest, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of players out there that are making up this team that have a really high upside. This team is full of really promising young talent. And then following up on that that victory against Mexico, they had a friendly against Costa Rica that they won 4-0. Now, obviously, Costa Rica, slightly lesser opponent than Mexico, although a strong side that usually is one of the few nations that makes it to the World Cup from this area of the world. But still, that result being what it was, as lopsided as it was, really kind of showcased the fact that a lot of these players are a lot better than we've had in the past. This really is a team that's coming into its own and starting to figure out who they are as a unit, and also trying to right the wrongs of some of the past that we've had with regards to not making it to the World Cup in 2018, et cetera, et cetera. So, having said all of that, obviously we are going into a period where we're looking at signings for POSH, and the transfer window just opened, I believe the day before yesterday, and everybody's getting really nervous about the fact that we haven't signed anybody. Personally, I'm not particularly overly concerned because of the fact that DMAC and Barry Fry and Darren Ferguson have a tendency to do good business overall. So I'm not overly concerned about the fact that we haven't signed anybody yet. But the thing is I am going to take this opportunity to kind of put together my wish list, if you will, of American players who I would love to see play for POSH. Now, I'm going to go a little bit in a few different directions because of the fact that some of these players come with extremely big price tags, and let's be honest that POSH is usually on a budget, so it's not always going to be possible to get everything that I might want, because of the fact that A, we're running on a budget, and then B, Darren McAnthony has recently said publicly on his podcast that they're not planning on going for internationals this coming year. That's most likely going to be the year after. So, without further ado, here is my list of some of the American players that I would love to see play for POSH. Okay. Starting off, we're going to go with the dream list. Okay. The absolute dream list would be Brian White as the first one. Now, that comes as a dream for me more than anybody else. Brian White is a former player of mine. Love that kid. I think he's a great kid overall. Most likely not going to happen. He's in the MLS, and he's playing for Vancouver at the moment. I don't think that transfers in the works at the moment. Gio Reyna is probably my favorite player that we have at the moment, in the way that he plays, the style of what he does, how he creates and everything like that. I know that people are really into Christian Pulisic, but I think that Gio Reyna has a much bigger upside overall, just because of the fact that I think that he's a slightly smarter player in certain respects with regards to creative playmaking, et cetera, et cetera. Then beyond the dream signing, which I don't think we're going to get Gio Reyna, way too costly. The secondary level, and you might add into I might add into there DK, just because of the fact that he has been on fire in the last year, helping out during his loan with Barnsley, trying to get them promoted, but ultimately didn't work out. He's obviously on contract at Orlando. I think there's going to be a lot of suitors coming in for him. So a club like Posh probably could not splash enough cash to get him in. I know that he probably wants to stay in England, but I don't think that we're going to be able to afford him. So that secondary level where it's possible, but a little bit unrealistic. The number one that I would probably go for here would be Brendan Aronson. Brendan Aronson is a young player with a huge upside. He's at Red Bull Salzburg right now. And the amount of money that they've put out for him to the Philadelphia Union organization is rumored to be someplace right around $6 million. Okay. Now, obviously, that puts him outside of the price range of a club like Peterborough United. However, what generally happens within the Red Bull organization is they try and develop players at Red Bull Salzburg and then move them on either for money or for experience and move them up to the Red Bull Leipzig team. I think that because of the fact that he is so young, getting him on a loan from Red Bull Salzburg could be a possibility, just because of the fact that them looking to put him into the shop window for a future transfer someplace else. That might be a possibility. If they see long-term viability for him to make it into the Red Bull Leipzig team, then they'll hang on to him. But it's really early days with him. So again, that's probably still, again, closer to the dream stage rather than the realistic stage. Much more on the realistic side is Matt Miazga. And Miazga is a guy that I've followed his career basically since the beginning because of the fact that he came through New York Red Bull when I was a season ticket holder. He obviously made a move to Chelsea for about £3.5 million, give or take. His contract runs out in 2022, and obviously Chelsea are not in a position where they have to deal anybody. And right now, this past season, he played at Anderlecht and had a pretty good season. I think he played almost all of their season, someplace around 38 games. But ultimately, he is a player that is going to be out of contract within a year. So he's been on loan at different places throughout Europe, both England and other countries. And I think that he could be a player that we end up picking up on loan in the short term, and then having the ability to pick him up on a full permanent contract afterwards. Now, again, a little bit pricey. These are, again, not exactly dreams, but they're not exactly simple transfers to make. Much more realistic and in the realm of possibility would be a player like Christian Kappas. Obviously, his visa problem created a bit of an issue with him when he was at his last club. I believe it was Hobro, but his move back to the United States, being in the men's national team camp, gives him the possibility of getting work over here. But the most recent thing that he's, I believe, worked out is he's going to be in the Danish league, and working within the smaller leagues within the European Union is probably where we would have to pick off any American players. Those guys who are playing for the full national team on a regular basis are probably going to be just slightly outside of our price range. And the last one, and this is a little bit tough because of the fact that he's the belle of the ball, if you will, recently, which is Ethan Horvath. Ethan Horvath he plays for Club Bruges. He's the backup keeper there. Much more likely that we might be able to pick up a player like that, especially considering the fact that he just got the United States, that win against Mexico with a save, a penalty kick save at the last moment, might create a great competition with Christy Pym. He's obviously got the size. He's used to playing out of the back, especially with the national team. So he might fit into the style that we play just a little bit more. And the fact that he is a backup and hasn't gotten the starting nod anywhere yet, with or anywhere near that yet with Club Bruges, brings him into the possibility where we might be able to afford him, and or he might be interested into that possibility of getting into a starting role, or in competition for a starting role. So those are my preferred, although it's not obviously probably going to happen, but those would be my picks for players that I would love to see come from the United States and play for POSH. All right. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to this channel. Obviously, I'm going to be coming out with a lot more content as the season gets closer. But for right now, with it being the summer, I'm looking for a few interview guests to talk about POSH over the summer, so that we don't stop the momentum from this past season. I want to make a full historical revisit on everything that's happened with the POSH in its history as much as we possibly can. So I'm looking to inform American fans who are interested in supporting a new team in the championship, to convince them to become POSH fans. So having that retrospective might be one of the ways that we get people in. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.